Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast, where it is minus 26 degrees Celsius in Calgary, Canada. And I think it's about 28 degrees, plus 28 degrees here in Melbourne, Australia. Pretty wild, right? Welcome to the show, Sarah-Mae Amde. Amde, I should say.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Oh, Bea, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. It's taken us, we've had a few false starts. I wasn't well, then you weren't well, and now here we are. And we've got this
Yeah,
extreme weather condition going on, one extreme to the
absolutely.
other. But you've had a good snow dump, which is exciting. I do love the snow. So, yeah, I'm
Would you
happy.
like some?
Yeah, I love the snow. Yeah, I mean, minus 26, that's cold. So, I don't know if I'd be loving that right now. I can't imagine that right now in December. But welcome to the show, and I'm really excited to be talking to you because we've got a lot to unpack when it comes to change and transformation. And you and I had a little chat the other week around, what that looks like. And you are the founder and CEO of Paragon Digital Consulting, which is an award-winning executive advisor and Sorry, you're an award-winning executive advisor and author known for leading digital transformation, profitability strategies, and high-performing team design across sectors, namely banking, energy, government, and nonprofits. Your work blends behavioral science, innovation, and change management, and you've co-authored a business book with Brian Tracy. What's the business book called? I should have asked you that.
It's called Cracking the Business Mastery Code, and it's really just about ways to think about it, both from like the founder, startup kind of entrepreneur, right to the CEOs who are dealing with, burnout, siloed teams, whatnot. So it's
Yeah.
designed to give you what you need to get through business at the level you're at.
Yeah, I love that. And you've had your business for like quite a while, haven't you? When did you found your business?
We officially started April 2005. So,
That's right.
yeah,
So 20 years. It's 20 years
yeah,
young, right?
yeah,
Wow.
it was
So
a great one.
let's go back to 2005. Like, how did you come into being an entrepreneur, starting your own business?
Oh, how did I start? So, my initial career was in like teaching. So I was doing like remedial math and French languages, and I was doing a lot of back end development. Where I was working with a white label hosting provider. They had this major outage that was going across North America, and they were having difficulty figuring out. Our team was the one that was on shift. We're working through it and come up with this really great way to solve the problem. So I'm training the teams on how to do it. I'm kind of talking to all of the major big clients, because we were like dealing with like the Verizons, the Bell Canadas, the AT&Ts. We were doing their space, the virtual managed services before the cloud was a thing. And my leadership looked at me and went, "Wait, you can translate that technical to non-technical?" And that was the last time I got to do any backend development. So my first iteration of the organization was really doing like kind of that more leading website development and stuff that, in an era that wasn't, and it's kind of evolved in the needs of what technology, but it was really to fulfill like this desire that I had to build to really help because they just took me away from that. They were like, no, 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 you need to talk to clients. And by virtue of that, when I started the business, that's what I found the clients wanted too. They just wanted me to talk to them and explain it to them too. So then it quickly turned into, okay, I've got other team members building and stuff. But that was the essence, and that was
Wow.
the real reason I started.
How cool. And so how big's your team now? Like how much, like over 20 years? Like what have you, jumping straight on into it, what have you noticed in your own business in terms of, let's start inside your business first and foremost, but what's been, gosh, you would have seen a lot in 20 years, like changed a lot, grown a lot, probably had moments of where are we going, like all of that. Like what's your journey been
Yeah.
like through an entrepreneur?
It's I think I've been through the gambit. Like it's funny you talk to someone who's like, oh yeah, so I started and I'm struggling. It's like, yep, been there. Oh, well, I've kind of fell into the burnout. Yep, been there. And oh, I've got silo teams. Yep, been there. Right. And so it's kind of had to go through that. My team size right now, we've got kind of three different parts of business. We've got ones that are very projectized that kind of come in where a lot of the bench is.
Yeah.
We've got the advisory, executive coaching piece, same thing, kind of like coming in as clients need. And then we've got like kind of the core team. So across the bench, I've got, a couple hundred. But in that full time, just dedicated internally, we've got about a dozen, and then like the that change advisory and that scale. So like when we have like a transformation client, it's like, okay, do you have the bench? Oh yeah, we've got the bench, right? And it then, unlike some of the big guys, we don't have to carry that bench with us
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to call that fixed and flex. It's like you've got the fixed
ooh,
core team and then
okay.
you flex in, you're from your community or your collective or whatever you've got, and you're calling it your bench. It's so true. It's the ability to not have, have people on the books, but then be the ability to tap into them as and when you need. It's such a modern model, if you like, so that you don't have all the overheads as well. I think it's a great way to scale and run a business because gone are the days when we can have all the head count and have everyone just sitting there waiting for a project. It just doesn't work that way anymore, does it?
No. And and I don't think it worked then. I think they just didn't have this idea. Like there was this social contract that like if I'm going to work with you, then you're just going to give that. And the organization's like, well, if you're going to work with me, then I have to give that to you. And that was kind of like the notion. But you're right, it's really transformed. It's fixed and flex. I really love that. That's
Yeah.
such a good way to talk about kind of that fractional piece. But clients demand it when they're saying, okay, well, the new technology advantages mean you can move faster. Then why is the overhead increasing? And it's like, this is how you balance it. So
Mm.
we can scale up or down as you need based on your need without having to have these, crazy
Yeah.
fees.
The other interesting thing is, like, I'm a big believer in subtractive psychology, and I'd love your thoughts on this in terms of, quite often, and you would see this going into clients and maybe even at times your own business, but, we see a problem or we have a problem, and we generally decide, oh, we need this resource, and this resource around it. And we add more layers to, or more, people to the problem when actually quite often the problem can be resolved with less less people. When you strip it away and you pull back, like what's not working, what's no longer serving, the business or the team or whatever. It's interesting. It's a subtractive way to get to the solution that you're looking for versus having to add all the different layers. What's your view on that? And do you see that happening in businesses a lot as well? Like, yeah.
I think that you're right on the money with it. I think that you share that same view as all of the great CEOs. They realize that sometimes the answer isn't adding more. I
Yeah.
think the newer, the greener executive, and I say greener and like maybe they just never seen it work elsewhere, um, they view that as it has to be adding more. Oh, we have a gap. We need more people. They automatically they want more technology. They want more, and it's that's not the answer. So really to be able to take a step back and assess, okay, what is it you're actually trying to do? What does that look like? And a lot of times I find with like a lot of our clients, they have that strength internally. It's just kind of mismanaged. And so it's more of like a puzzle. And you're like, okay, let's just shift some pieces. Let's use the technology to augment. And now look, you've solved the problem with the exact same amount. And if anything, now you're getting better productivity because you've got people better aligned to what you really need
Yeah.
and what the output. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the best, they understand that just being able to address a problem doesn't mean that it has to be
No.
more.
And it's
Yeah.
also for me how you collaborate with tech these days. Like obviously, yeah, again, I'd love your thoughts on this because you are, from a digital consulting transformation perspective. I mean, you've talked, tech is a big part of probably of no doubt what you do. Like, what are you seeing like in terms of, 20 years like in business? That's, amazing. So
Oh, yeah.
tech's changed a lot in 20 years, and this year in particular, like it's astounding to think what I remember in, I think it would be in 2023 when I was having coffee with somebody here in Melbourne and they were like, hey, B, check this out. And they showed me this open AI thing at the time and look what it can do. And I look back and I was like, I quickly downloaded the app and had a look at it. But I'm like, it's just wild to think where we are right now and what is going on and like what we're heading into in 2026. And there's a lot of buzz around everything, right? But like, yeah, I just think it's how we as humans collaborate more with the tech and the tech collaborates more with us. We're gonna
Yeah.
get better solves as well. Like what are you seeing that you didn't see 5 years ago when it comes to, you know, change, transformation, the tech aspect. Yeah.
I think you've touched on a number of things. So like if you
Yeah, I do
ask,
do
okay,
that. I jump
I know,
around.
I love it. I love it though. That's why I love talking to you.
Yeah.
It's, it's like it's holistic and it's deep. So 20 years ago, I think we expected the technology to do what we do now. I think there was this idea and this hopeful vision that like, oh, technology is going to solve all the problems, but it took time for it to mature. So we're kind of getting into that now.
Mm,
What I've seen now in the last 5 years that didn't see before, really from that push of COVID and organizations being forced into this like completely digitalized world and this remote workforce, is that it enabled them to see technology as like more symbiotic.
yeah.
It has to be an enabler for the people as opposed to just, oh, it's just there to, a photocopier or just there for email or just there to, to actually facilitate some sort of transaction behind the scenes. It needs to work more hand in hand. Where, if I look back, even 10, 15 years, the technology was always very difficult. It was, oh, we'd love to do that, but the technology won't allow it. Oh, we'd love to do that, but the technology won't allow it. Um, and there's this challenge that I've seen in two parts, one of which was there was a point where the technology was so immature, it was so rigid, it couldn't do it.
Mm,
And then we've come out of that. In the last like 10 years, we've come out of that. And now it's the specialist who's working on it doesn't know the technology well enough to get it to do what it needs to do to be able
yeah.
to do that now. And so when they hear that, well, the technology can't do that, it's like, that's nonsense. Like that's talk from 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, when the technology could not do it. Of course it can. How are you thinking about it? Like think outside the box for a second. Like the problem isn't the problem you think it is, like work around it. And I think there's this view of like, well, it's just not the technology. It's like, no, that's not the answer anymore. So that's where I've really seen it, is that people like the best companies have kind of moving towards, oh, the technology can do it. Okay, where are my people at? How does the technology need to show up so that they both move up, as opposed to here's where the technology is and I need my people here and that's it, right? Like if
Yeah.
the technology can't move, it's like, well, the technology can move. It's
Yeah.
technology. You can
It's
build
a
it.
collaboration, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's a really interesting collaboration. It's human and machine coming together and collaborating in a way that is builds it builds on the performance. Like it's a collaboration of high performance in the weirdest possible way. Like not weird, but like yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about this myself now and kind of going, high performing team is high performing team design, like what you do and a lot of what I do as well. And it's like, well, this is just the same as putting a team together. It's just how the two like
Yeah.
collaborate and work together. Yeah, it's really interesting.
That is so perfect. I'm so glad you said and that. Again, another reason why I just love talking to you is that when you're looking at a team, if you had five diverse people, you would look at, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses? How do you augment it? How do you structure that?
Mm,
But then sometimes they don't see the same thing with technology. You're like, well, wait, why not? Like,
yeah,
start with the people. Where's your outcome? What do you need to do? How can people do that? Okay, where are they weak? Is that technology strength? Some of it is not. Some of it you have to rearrange people, but some of it there's other pieces. Like that's the holistic view. One of the greatest questions I asked was, if we have these AI assistants that are coming into the workforce, like how do you work with them? And you're like, the way you would any other team member. What's its strengths? What's its weaknesses? How can it augment? Where's the productivity? How do we align to the goal? Like
yeah,
that's
totally. Yeah.
it's the same thing. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I talked to you about weaknesses. I am not, and like this is no just like respect to you at all. I'm not a believer in weaknesses. I think that we have strengths and we have improvements, right? And I feel that and I'm keen to understand what your view on weaknesses is, because when weaknesses always takes me to you're not doing a good enough job, you're not doing this properly, and it's probably back to when I was, I guess I don't like to say it now, but I was climbing the corporate ladder, and if you weren't doing something properly, but it's for me, weakness always kind of took me to, well, it's just that it doesn't motivate me, and it's not that I'm not conscientious, because I'm a really conscientious, hardworking person, like
Mhm.
hardworking, not burnout ways these days, but and so weakness was always for me something where I was like, well, if you're forcing me to do, say, for example, a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, like, and like be, an absolute, like specialist at it, it's not where I'm going to be my best, and I'm not going to shine my brightest. I can improve on it. I can upskill, And so
Yeah.
when you talk about weaknesses, what do you, because it's still used a lot, right? It's used all the time. There's probably terms that I use that you wouldn't use or whatever, like it's horses for courses. But I'd love to get your view on, it's like hard and soft skills. Like you can't
Yeah.
separate them. You know what I mean? So
No.
when you're talking about weaknesses, what are you looking at in terms of, is it like improvements or is it, yeah,
So I think that what's interesting is I I think you're right. There's a lot of negative connotation behind that concept of weakness, and
yeah.
I view it as it's just a reality. There's things I'm phenomenal at,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
things
good.
I'm not so great at, and you're right. It's maybe I'm not motivated, maybe I haven't learned it well. Like none of us came out cooking well, right? Like that's not a thing.
So
Like even if you
true.
think of the virtuosos who were like playing piano and that at 3, somebody taught them. Like
Yeah.
hold on a second, right? They didn't come out of the womb doing that. Like that's just it's nonsense. Like this we are born this way is not. We are naturally inclined. We have natural gifts. Like if I think of like Usain Bolt, the man can run ridiculously fast. Now, if I was to compare my ability to run with him, yeah, I might be a weakness. No, that's not my forte.
No.
Okay, fine. Can he run a business like this? Like maybe he can't. But like that's not where the comparison is. So we look at it a lot with our coaching from like a productivity and preference. Like if you are
Oh, yeah, that's
productive and
cool.
you are
That's great.
hardworking, fantastic. What's your preference? Because a lot of times people get put into roles you see it a lot, especially in corporate, where you've got someone who's senior and they're really good at the job, and the company doesn't know how to reward them for their loyalty and whatnot. So they push them into management, but they're not like a
No,
people person, they're not a people
yeah.
manager. They're not. And so you put them in this management and they're horrible people managers, horrible. Like the teams hate them. They're like, I just want to do the work. And so it's like, well, you're weak at this. No, that's not their passion and they didn't need to be there, but they felt like they weren't evolving because you didn't create this path for them. And it's like there's no reason why they can't be that specialist. You'll go externally and hire a specialist, but why can't you have one internally?
Yeah.
Right? So we've pushed them into this as opposed to like their preference is they'd rather just work on the work. They
I,
can be a team player and they can do that. That's not about productivity, it's about preference. So let's get to preference. And if you can match people's preferences, if they show up with productivity, like if they don't show up with productivity, no matter preference doesn't mean anything, right?
no,
Like if you don't care,
totally.
like whatever. But like that's just bad performance. But if they're productive and you can match their preferences and you can just move them around, you will find everyone's a lot more motivated, a lot more happier. You're getting better productivity. And if they have that ability to go, like you said, the spreadsheet, hey, does anyone know how to do this a little bit better? Like, someone show me like a trip and then it not be a judgment, but like this team collaboration to do that. And they all view it the same way. Then now you have this team that's empowering and like they're unstoppable.
And that's
Like,
the
it
flow.
doesn't,
That's when they get into the
yeah.
team flow, high flow, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's when like you've just called out all the high flow triggers for a team.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, I'm glad I've asked that question because that productivity and preference, it's so true. Yeah, we put people in this little square hole or whatever and if they expect them to just, well, why aren't they performing or why aren't they doing this? It's like, have we actually asked them whether they enjoy doing this or not? Like,
Yeah.
or what's their preference, like you say.
Yeah.
Talk to me. I'm gonna take another pivot. Resistance to change. You again, transformation, change. What are you seeing as the biggest challenges right now? What are leaders, what are founders, CEOs, what are teams resisting the most when it comes to change or transformation and why?
Ooh. So there's a couple of things. One, I think there is this view that change management isn't human behavior. And they think that humans have changed. Like we are people. We've been people for millennia. We're going to be the same people forever. What changes us and what moves us is how we believe in things. If we believe in something, we will change to align to that belief. And so there's this view that change management is, well, people just are resisting it because, they didn't hear it, right? And that's this an excuse. And so we have to send a message 7 times. And like you hear these really outdated, archaic, like siloed, broken frameworks about how you navigate change as opposed to understanding what human behavior is. And it comes down to psychology. It comes down to how do we interact with technology? Where's our fears? And if you can't address the fears. And so a lot of times those leaders, they themselves have fears. If I don't do this well, what's my reputation like? So now I'm just going to push. Whoa, wait a second. Like You just had a fear yourself. So lean into it. What is actually a fear? My fear is not going to do well. Okay, but why? Because I really care. Why? Because I really care about my team and I care about my job and I care about the company and I care about the clients. Yeah, start with that. Like, show up and be willing to say that because everybody wants to be a part of something better. Everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And there's very few who just say, you know what, I really just don't want to do the work. But those are the people who also don't show up performance-wise anyway, right? Like that's
Yeah.
an outlier. That's not the challenge, right? The resistance is I'm afraid of the change because it means that I'm not going to be more important. I'm going to feel like I'm a novice. Okay, but that's just because of judgment. It's going to feel like I'm going to be stupid. Well, that's because I've never had been pushed in a learning environment. I'm never going to remember. Okay, so that you don't like you never had to learn something before. You never had to write yourself reminders. Like sometimes we forget that we are just humans. So a lot of that resistance shows up that way. And
Yeah.
so it's really just taking them back to, okay, I always say, no one has to remind you to go to your favorite restaurant for dinner. No one has to convince you to have to do that because you want to, because you believe that's your favorite restaurant. And so sometimes the message is ignored because of who's saying it. And so the question is, does your ego have to be in play? Like, does it matter who gets the message to you as long as you get the message?
Yeah,
And
that's very
sometimes
cool.
leaders are like, but it's supposed to be me. Really? But if they're not listening to you, like one, there's a whole trust thing that we need to work on. But two, if it gets you the goal and everyone's happy and we're aligned, like, why do you care? Oh, because it's me. This says more about you. You're the hindrance. Like, so we really
What's your
start to
ego?
notice,
Yeah, it's your ego. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting in the way. And so and so I guess again, people think of change not like as a personal, as a person, right? And it's like, so we have feelings and we're going to care. And so how do you get people to be inspired? They care. But well, everyone's going to care for different reasons. Some are going to care because they want to be seen good at their job. Okay, that's not bad. Some are going to care because they're going to get a great bonus. Okay. And some people are going to care because they want to really help the clients. They believe in it. Some are going to care because they really like the team members. Some are going to care because they love their job, and they love what that, who cares why they care? Do they care? And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, well, they only care because of the money. Okay, but they have bills to pay. Do you like what's going on behind the scenes of life? Maybe they're, supporting another family member who's ill. So that becomes important. Like if they're doing what's necessary and they're not harming anyone, what's the problem? And
Yeah.
so they add in these artificial reasons because they feel like that, if they're doing it for any other reason than just simply because they were told, then it's wrong.
Mm.
So there's a lot of unpacking that you have to do there, but that's really where the resistance is just understanding that we're dealing with people. It's not
And-
technology. You can't just change
yeah.
the configuration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got a tiny little tool that I play with my clients where it's just like I want you to journal for the next 2 weeks, like what any resistance you notice coming up for you throughout the day, and I want you to write down, how it made you feel. Like I can't think about it off the top of my head, and then it's like what would, and then write down what would happen if I had have, just like pushed through this resistance, and what did that feel like? And it's quite profound what comes back because I always get, I don't have anything, I'm not fearful, I don't have any resistance to anything. I'm like, okay, come just show me what you've done in 2 weeks' time journaling. And then like, oh, like all these things popped up that I was like, oh, I noticed this and I noticed this. And so, it's really breaking down, well, what does it look like? Like what are you actually fundamentally resisting? And like you say, what if you actually just got it out of the way, moved it out of the way, and just walked through it rather than pushed through it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I love that. Like you have to measure and be aware of things before you can change it. And I love that. You just like, yeah, you have to measure in order to multiply it. Like if you want to do better, you have to see and look at it and acknowledge. And I love that. I'm not afraid of everything. Oh my God, I love when people say that and you're like, really? Yeah, that's a natural fear. Fear is designed to keep you from killing yourself accidentally from doing something stupid. I'm gonna run across the street. There's a bunch of cars. I should be fearful of the cars driving by. Like they may hit
100%.
me. Right. Like it's not bad. You don't go, oh, because I am fearful, I'm never gonna cross the street. No, you just like it's supposed to make you cautious. It's supposed to make you look around. Oh, I
Aware,
will wait
alert.
until a break in the cars. Right. But I love that. So and I love that exercise. Just
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Just
a
write it
basic
down.
one, but I learned about it in my own when I was going through my own kind of transformation. Tell me a bit about profitability strategies. Like, like I've had quite the conversations around, again about people engagement, like when we're just chasing a number, when we're just chasing margins or, profit. We wonder why our team are disengaged. We wonder why what's going on. And, change also is quite often cutting costs, like known as cutting costs or whatever it is. Like, talk us a little bit about your, what I guess a good profitability strategy looks like from a holistic perspective, from a, integrated within the business versus, we need a profitability strategy because we just need to hit this number and it will do whatever it takes.
So profitability strategies look different for different organizations. Like a lot of times companies, sorry, people will work with, or they'll look at the way like a small business is run, and then they'll expect the exact same thing from like a public company. But a public company has very different duties than the small business owner. None of
100%.
which, none of which are democracies, right? Like, hold on a second, right? So this whole idea that like I should always have a vote, like that doesn't work. Like if you want that, like go build your business. So in the public ones, they have a duty to provide shareholder value. Now, the shareholder value, here's the thing that works the best. If you take care of your people who take care of your customers, it will take care of itself. Like so
100%.
there's that piece, right? And then and for the small ones, they always start out with like I want to like I do something that I really really believe in. And what they miss is that in both cases, the idea is that people are doing something they believe in. And so the profitability is really like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing this? Well, we started the company with a vision to, impact lives. Okay, so when did it change? Well, when we had to, we're aiming to hit 10% year over year. Okay, fine. So if you're trying to do growth, and like, that is like very conservative growth year over year. Um, how? How are you showing up with impact 10% more or impact 100% more? How are you doing that? Because if you can answer that, then like the numbers will show up. All right. And if it's, well, we're burning out our teams, well, why are you burning out your teams?
Yeah.
How are you mismanaging your resources? Like, it doesn't matter how much, like, small founders always say, oh, I don't have enough money. Really? Big companies say the same thing and they've got sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars. So that's not the answer. It's how do you think about the resources? How do you use it? So like we have access to great
Leverage.
technology. Yeah, like oh, I love that. Everyone's like use leverage and most people don't understand what leverage is. Leverage means I don't have to do it to get the same outcome, right? Like there was a time when if I wanted to send you a letter from Calgary to Melbourne, I'd have to write it out. I had to get quill, get some ink, write it out on some parchment, roll it up, right? Seal it, put it on somebody's horseback, get it to a port that's gonna go on a ship, that's gonna go to you, that's gonna jump on another horseback. Maybe it's a carrier pigeon, right? Like it's going to get to you. Now I can send an email. That's leverage. It's the time in between, and it hasn't changed the fact that I'm still communicating with you,
Yes,
right?
so
And
true.
so people don't get that, right? And they're like, oh yeah, leverage, 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 right? And I get it. They hear it a lot from stocks. They hear it a lot from, crypto. They hear it a lot from all these other areas, which they don't understand that there. That's why they get wiped out too, right? Like, so it's the reality is they just don't understand how to use it effectively. But yeah, from that profitability strategy is really just where's your real vision? What are you trying to get to? Where are you actually at? Like, don't give me some wonderful song and dance and where we are doing all these wonderful things and we're great. Okay, fantastic. If you're doing all those things, then why aren't you there already?
Yeah, why
Like,
why isn't the business profitable? What's going on here?
yeah,
Yeah,
what's
there's
going on?
always
Oh, and then once they figure out the where they're gonna go gap, most times once they have a real clear understanding, they get it. But it's understanding the difference between profitability. Like like when they say, oh, we're profitable, that's just on paper. What's your cash flow like? What's your stakeholder equity? What's your return to earnings? Like, what's your EBIT? Like, where are you actually at? And that's where they start to see the difference between, well, on paper, where, we should be hand over fist, cash flow, we're negative, and we're just bleeding here and we're using, wonderful
yeah, what's your
accounting
burn rate?
gymnastics to be able
Yeah.
to look good. Like, but yeah, so it's really digging into that. And that's that holistic part where we just say, okay, where you at? And then once you've figured that out, then you just look at your people and go, okay, how do we get there? Who among your team, and you can always ask the leader, okay, if you had this project, who among your team, if you know that you mentioned it, would be jumping out of the seat? Whether you think they're going to adopt, right? Okay, fine. So why wouldn't you give it to them? If they are jumping out of the seat with that much passion, well, they're not really good. Okay, well, where's the deficiency in the skill? Maybe they can't manage a project. Okay, so get them some skill training. Like,
Yeah,
like if they've
totally,
got the
totally. It's
passion,
so
they've
true.
got that loyalty. Like,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
that's holistically how we get through them through that strategy. And it's simple, it's not easy, because the simple part is these are just the steps you need to do, right? Like it's super easy, and sorry, super simple. The hard part is, okay, this hurts, but I can still work through it. I might be a little fearful, I still got to be courageous.
yeah. That's the
Like
change
this is
piece.
getting boring, I still need the discipline to do my duty day in day out.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've got two last questions for you, and or maybe three. And my first one is around women in leadership. Like, you're a very successful businesswoman. What are you seeing as the biggest opportunity for women as leaders? In the world we're currently in
Mm.
and heading into 2026, like what are you seeing as their biggest opportunity? It's quite a
I
broad
think,
question.
yeah, I think in the last, like even across my career, so if I go back from like the 90s to now, like the what we were in the workforce in the 90s is very, very different than we are now. So there's in the like recent years, there is this not even there's always been an acceptance of women in the workforce. There's been always an acknowledgement, but now it's like this propelling, like they're just kind of pushing. I think a lot of the problem women are kind of getting tripping over themselves. And so it's that just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're infallible. And just because you're put in a position of leadership doesn't mean that you're not going to be afraid. Doesn't mean that you're going to be fearful. Like there's just still this acknowledgement of you're just who you are. I think one of the most profound things that has made me personally successful. Two of which, one, I'm a deep lady of faith. Like, and we've talked about that. Like, I'm just like I'm core principles. I have values. There's things that I'm just non-negotiable, like my integrity, and I have an answer to a guy. Like eventually, I'm gonna have to answer to everything I say.
Yeah,
Um, and two, like I don't mind. I'm a woman, so I'm going to be feminine. And there's no reason why I have to be not. And I think sometimes a lot of women try to bury just that natural willingness to care about the company, about the teams, about the
mm,
clients, about what they're
so
doing,
true.
because they think that it's supposed to. But guys are built differently, and I think there's an acknowledgement. They're designed to be stoic. Uh, like men, when they're at their best, they're fantastic. When they're not, they're destructive because they're innately built to create. And so they have to self-regulate. They have to do that. If you ever see a guy who doesn't self-regulate, he's scary. Why? Because you're like, I don't know what you're gonna do. Like, what's gonna
Exactly.
happen,
No,
right?
it's so true. It's so
Right.
true.
And so we're softer. And so that's why they almost allow it, because they're like, you're not going to be like that, right? You might get upset. You might like scream, but you're not going to be like that. And so it's like, okay, but you don't have to be screaming in order to be
No.
completely stoic either, right? So you could just be yourself. And so I think the greatest opportunity is women being able to lean into who they really are and just go, look, you know what? I might be afraid. I don't want to make the wrong decision. Oh, maybe I'll just consult with the team, get
Yeah,
maybe to test some validation, and let's fail fast. Let's try it. Does it work? No. Okay, fine. And it's putting aside, especially in business, putting aside the how you feel and just going with the numbers. If if you're doing something you're like, I don't know if this feels right, but the numbers are showing it's going great, run with it. And
agree.
vice versa. If it's like, oh, I really, really love this and I had this great idea, but it's not working out, you're gonna have to revise it, right? And that's, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think it's
there's
I
this
think
opportunity.
yeah, it's for me leading, I mean authenticity, but leading from the heart and soul, like leading from within. I think it's all around, like when we lead from within, when we go back to who we truly are, what we're about, it's all in here. We have all the answers in here. It took me a long time to learn that. But the answers are we've got them. And so having that ability to have the courage, the open mind, the ability to be able to lead that way, I think is
Mhm.
so important, like to have, I think for me it's an integration of male and female energy flow because as a woman you need to be able to be decisive, you need to be able to make
Mhm.
those decisions. But we've got this innate gift in us where we're more intuitive. We've got, this wisdom and flow and this creativity as well. And I'm not saying men don't, because they absolutely do. but I think we can interconnect the two, and I think that's what we need more of. And it's the same for male leaders as well. When you booked in for the pod, well, when people book in for the pod, I always ask them what's one unique insight or lived experience when it comes to life leadership and or business. Is there anything that you comes to mind for you? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, I think one of the most profound things that I've learned throughout my career, and it's like it's the thing that I say all the time, is um like sometimes the media lies. Like so from a lady of faith, I've always say like the devil's a liar. And what I really mean with that is that sometimes those that you would think would be less supportive, like or like the media tells you like these would never be supportive, like you might actually have so much more in common. Like if I was to, and I'm not taking this like racially in any way, but if you would look at like my typical client is like the white middle-aged male who's very traditional and conservative. And you know what? We have so much in common. Like we believe in the same things. We believe in hard work and the values, and like there is
Yeah,
so much in alignment. And when you sit and talk and you're like, oh yeah, we got this. Like, and but if you listen externally, they would be like, there's no way that a guy would want a female leader or someone with, darker skin, or like that's nonsense, right? We're people. Like that, just like that noise. And so I think one of the most profound things was, as you said, when you had to learn and just go, okay, I just have to be me, and this is just who I am. And I think
yeah,
one of the things I said was like, you don't have to believe what I believe. I'm not asking you, I'm not trying to convince you, but I'm a
no,
lady of faith and these are my values. And suddenly people
I
were
love
like,
that.
oh, we get it.
Yeah.
Like that was what changed everything. And but that took courage because I was afraid, like, because you just listen to the noise and it's like, oh, that's not going to be accepted. No, no. The world needs more of us to be ourselves. Could you imagine what the world would look like if all of us just leaned into who we are and just
Oh my
showed
God, it'd
up?
be
Like,
amazing. I mean,
oh,
that's my whole mission in life now. And even like when
yeah.
like I'm just like even now I'm on LinkedIn, I'm like I'm just like I'm not being random, but I'm just like gloves are off. Like I'm just like I'm not gonna try and fit in. I'm to be have to post this way, have to do it this way. I'm doing it my way. Like just like it's strategic. I have the way I'm doing things. I'm strategic
Mhm.
about it, but it may look very different to how somebody else is doing it. That's okay. And I'm not looking for what's the word? I'm not looking for likes or fault. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just like this. If this adds value to you, that's what means the most to me. If you get some value out of this, and I'm using LinkedIn as just an example, but you're absolutely right. I think it's like don't judge a book by its cover. Do not judge a book by its cover because you just never know. And I think that's super important. And if we could all just be who we're truly meant to be and ourselves in this world, we'd be in such a better place.
Yeah. I love that example of just showing up as you are, like even off on LinkedIn.
That's exactly
It's like,
show up. Yeah, just
yeah,
showing up and
show
just
up.
being who you
Yeah.
truly are. Exactly. I think it's so important. Last but not least, one final question, or what would be one piece of advice or some words of wisdom that you would give any leader or any business owner founder as we're heading into 2026? What would be the piece of advice you would give them?
Hmm. The world is changing. Like the what we knew, the comforts that we had is changing. And what we're seeing coming out of COVID was in all of this connection in technology, there's this bigger gap of loneliness because we're missing this
So
human
true.
connection. And so there's a need and a desire for people to show up authentically, to show up just like as they are, to show up and be real. And so more than just like live experiences together, but just to like lean into like what was the real reason why you started the business? Like, okay, it might have been 5, 10 years ago, and you might have achieved goals, lost some goals, the market conditions, okay, but why? And lean into that because people need it. We're starting to see people return back to I just miss like going down to the corner store and knowing that Bob owned it,
Yeah.
and and like it wasn't perfect and his prices were whatever, like, but it's like we had a connection and he valued me as a customer. as opposed to I'm just some number who buys something at a store and nobody cares, or I buy it online and yeah, it's quick, but nobody cares. And when I return it, no one's like trying to rectify it. Like they got away from this trend. It's like we're far more transactional. And so to really lean in and be relational is going to change everything. And you're going to see the division because you're seeing, like, I'm seeing tons of big businesses are spending enormous amounts of money trying to get back to that. They're trying to do that. So they're using technology as much as they possibly can and everywhere else to get back to like there's people talking to people because like people,
Foundations.
yeah, people are just like, okay, so what? You're in this big, corporate conglomerate, right? And you're like a $3 trillion company, but I'm a number to you.
Yeah.
You sold a phone to me, but you sold a phone to, 300 million people.
Yeah.
So you care about me. But if I go to the store down the street, they care. When
Yeah.
I come in, I go, hey, something's not working. They're like, hold on, let's sit down, let's figure it out. Like there's that like customer service, and in the environment that we have, people have gotten away from what good customer service is because they think, and somehow we've done it, serving is like horrible. Like we've convinced
Agree. I
teachers,
know.
we've convinced teachers like that the rules are they don't care.
Yeah.
We've convinced call center people. We've convinced servers. We convince the people who go to a restaurant. It's like you go to a restaurant and somebody is serving you. Yeah. Their job is to serve you. The least you could do is be thankful. Because
Yeah.
you know what? You could be at home doing it yourself. You could
It's
be at
great.
home trying
Gratitude.
to cook for yourself and
Yeah.
yeah, doing that. But they're picking up and they're making sure you have everything you need so that you can just focus in that moment. The least you could be is thankful. And so that concept of serving is more than just I, I love and hate that concept of servant leadership because they've turned servant leadership into this like I'm a doormat to my people. No, 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 no. You rule by serving, you serve by ruling, right? You aren't better than them. They come to you with their problems, you come to them,
Well, seven,
very
seven
warm and
is,
romance.
yeah, we could go, well, we're gonna have to go on another podcast next year, but seven is leading for your people. I think leadership is a culmination of like, I mean, I'm terming my own, soulful, high flow conscious leadership, but I do think leadership is leading for your people, which is, servant leadership, adaptable leadership, having that ability to adapt no matter what the market conditions are. And the other one is the transformational leadership, the ability to be able to, change and innovate. And so I think those are really important. But I love everything that you have shared with us today, Sarah. Sarah-Mae, I should say. It's been amazing. I keep abbreviating your name, and then I'm like, I see it, and I'm like, sorry. I've probably said Sarah about 10 times through here, but Sarah-Mae. How do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your business?
It's the best place is the website. The website links to everything. So paragondigitalconsulting.com and everything from our social and whatnot, live events, stuff. That's the hub. It makes it easy. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your Friday. It's Friday evening, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's gonna warm up. It's gonna get to eight
Yeah,
degrees.
in a couple of days we're gonna swing 30 degrees. It's gonna be lovely. People will be out in shorts. I know it's crazy, but
Yeah.
that's our weather by the mountains.
Yeah. And I love that you're continuing to trailblaze with what you're doing and reshaping businesses, reshaping teams, and reshaping leaders, which is ultimately what, I'm doing as well. And yeah, thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks, Sarah May. Take care.